Alright, we should be good. Alright, let me see. Alright, we're good. So, hello everyone. It's been a while. Hope everyone is doing good. Oh, it's not. It's still not up yet. Alright, let's see. Alright, it's good. So yeah, hello everyone. It's been a while since I've actually, streamed. The last stream I did, I think it's like 10 days ago. Oh, it's 13 days ago, which is insane. But anyways, really missed this. Really missed talking about versus. And given that the next chapter is gonna be either tomorrow or the day after, I decided to, kind of like go back to versus because like it's been a month I didn't look at anything regarding versus. So yeah, welcome to the stream again, and we're just going to be predicting what's gonna happen in the next chapter. So yeah, just gonna wait for more people to join, or like 4 or 5. Wait, let me share this to my Discord server. Okay. Versus section, and then we're just gonna tag everyone. All right, versus chapter 36, predictions. All right, everything good. Alright, so just to sum up what happened in the previous chapter, because I usually reread, but this one I didn't reread it because I'm just like super busy these days with vacations and stuff, right? I'm just having a good time. Just like felt to not work or do any necessary research these days because I just want to have fun. Even like my main channel, I'm not really posting anything these days. But anyways, going back to this chapter, chapter 35, one of my favorite chapters in Versus so far. It's a really good chapter. It's definitely like top 4 best chapters. We've seen how the Titans actually did well. I wouldn't say like all the Titans. Obviously, they just got one-shotted by these demon lords. If I remember their names correctly, Varney Gums and Kanigani and Balkalko, right? The Tangola, Heya, yo, what's up? It's been a while. Welcome to the stream. And then like the ones that I'm talking about, like they did good, are like Berser. Berser didn't really do that good because he didn't go drumming mode, which is surprising. I hope he does have that one. But at least he was still able to, like, I wouldn't say tank, but like withstand hits from another Demon Lord, Vuvu. But granted, this is base Vuvu, right? So I'm just like recalling what I remember from this chapter. Then this happens. It's getting petrified, but then like you cannot really control him that much. They use the meteor. He tanks it pretty easily. And then after we see the whole thing with Nudo, obviously, what's his name? Kanigani gets one-shotted. And then Nudo resorts to absorb, what's his name? It's this not Jakuja, right? Jakuja's energy, or like Jakuja in him, like in his, like all of Jakuja, if that made sense. And then he's trying to use that power, the soul container, to defeat Gimbak, or like he's at least trying to test it. So what do we think? Do we think it's gonna work? Do we think Gimbak is just gonna be able to tank it? Mr. Common Name, welcome to the stream. Victor Duarte. I hope Berser learns magic, even if it's a little simple magic tricks. That's what I'm hoping is gonna happen. Have you seen the hint leaks? No, but I'm aware of them, and hopefully I don't want you guys to spoil anything. Because if tomorrow or the day after the chapter drops, I want to give you guys an unfiltered reaction, like with not knowing anything. So yeah, like, do you guys, but like, the people who has seen the hints or the spoilers cannot answer this, but do you guys think Gimbak is just casually going to stop this, or is it going to affect him? I think he'll tank it, honestly. To be honest, I feel like it's far-fetched to say he'll tank it, because like if he tanks this, he's just too OP. If we consider that he does have a drumming mode and he tanks this in his base, and that shit would be insane. Because if you guys remember, I'm one of the believers that the drumming mode actually gives you an insane boost of stats, not just like a 1 or 2 times multiplier. It's just that insane. So like if he actually tanks this in his base, that would be crazy. Like just insane. I think it gets will give a small cuts. Yeah, look, I wouldn't be surprised if it just, you know, damages him, but like I don't want it to kill him. Not kill him, because I don't think Gimbak is just, you know, this is the end of Gimbak. Gimbak is just too important for the story. But I don't want it to damage him to the point where we do not see Gimbak for like a, you know, for a while. I want it to do a little damage, and that's it. Tugan Bada Money, I don't know if I said your name correctly. Hi, welcome to the stream. No, I think he will tank most of it, but the aftermath would slowly kill or weaken him. Yeah, hopefully that's not the case. I don't want Gimbak to die. I want him to be an endgame character. And the signs kind of say that like he's not really gonna continue until the end of the story, because he's the top tier character we see most in action, right? If we talk about the top tier characters, we have Byakuo, we have Daiko Kuzan, we have Gimbak, we have not Byakuo, Yaotsu. The one we are seeing the most is Gimbak, and that's not a good sign. Usually the character we see a lot of feats from the start is a character that's not gonna really like, it's not really gonna continue that much. So yeah, like hopefully Nyudo, look, I'm gonna say what I want to happen, right? And what I want to happen doesn't necessarily mean it's good writing. Obviously, like I'm not a writer, but it's something that would make me hyped. I would want to see Gimbak tank this, and if not, if he doesn't tank it, it does something to him, but even though he's like severely damaged or whatever, maybe poisoned, maybe whatever, he's still able to kill all of these demon lords, with the sole exception of Nyudo, because this is just a projection. Nyudo is not really here. So this is what I want to happen. I don't want any of them to survive, other than Nyudo, because Nyudo is very important for the story, obviously. Like, if just one other demon survives with Nyudo, I would not like it at all. When is the release date? It's either tomorrow or the day after or the day after. Like, it's either 23rd or 24th or 25th of August. The Giants might have a queen that is stronger than Gimbak. Like, the Giants has to come from somewhere. Yeah, that's a question that we are all trying to find an answer for. But I don't want to have it. I want Gimbak to be, but like they did say that Gimbak is the strongest Titan before. I think the one who said it is Pakia, and maybe Pakia is not aware of, you know, the queen. He doesn't know that a queen exists. But I don't want it to be the case. I don't want somebody else from the Titans to be stronger than Gimbak. Why do you not like it? I thought you killed Jahivi. You ki you liked Jahivi? I did not like Jahivi. Like I did say in the previous stream, like Jahivi, the way he was looking in chapter, hold on, chapter 33, I did like his design. And usually these type of characters, I like them. The Aura Farmer characters, right? But from chapter 34 and 35, kind of like, like I just, what's the word? What's in English? What's the opposite of he grew on me? I started not to like him because like he's a one. So far, he's a one-trick pony. He's just using his petrification ability. We don't even know if he has a release form, and like somebody else needs to protect him. Like that, that type of character is not for me, if you know what I mean. Like I do like characters that are that have more than one trick and they can do so many things. Maybe can brawl physically, they can use magic. Like you know, Jahivi is not that. Someone confirmed Gimbak is the strongest giant. I think Pakia did say it. He said that Gimbak is the strongest giant. All that for a drop of blood, Gimbak probably. Yeah, that shit would be insane if that's what happens. Yo, Gimbak just says, yo, all of that just for a drop of blood, like Thanos style. You gotta bring the Demon King now. That's another question. Do you guys believe the Demon King is gonna make an appearance? Because, imagine these guys all die and Yudo just confirms it to the Demon King and the Demon King says, fine, I'll do it myself, kind of Thanos style. That would be an insane cliffhanger. But I don't think the Demon King is gonna appear anywhere soon. Anytime soon. There's also another question that we had the previous chapter. Why are these guys not using their burst form from the get-go? Like, they're literally seeing how overpowered Gimbak is. Granted, their teamwork is absolutely fire, right? The way they're handling this is the right approach. It's just the right approach against the wrong opponents. Gimbak is just so strong, none of these things are gonna matter. But it just makes me wonder, why are these guys not using their burst? For example, Jahivi. Jahivi is still able to use his petrification magic because of the whole Jakuja's burst being able to enhance them and nerfs the Titans. He's able to do it. So one would think with his burst form, the effect is going to be more effective. The effect is going to be more effective. The magic is going to be more effective. So like, why isn't this guy using his burst? Does he not have burst form? Burst takes a lot of mana to use, I believe. That's a good point. It's actually a good point. I do remember somebody telling me before, I don't remember who, but like, there is the possibility of like these guys maybe are working with Nudo, and hence that's why they're not really using their burst. They're just, testing the waters. Like for example, right here, when Nudo betrays Jakuja, you can see this panel of forgot their names, Nyagoro and Hitodinam, I guess. Let me show you guys. Where is it? So this one, right? So he put Jakuja in a cube, and Nyagoro and Hitodinam, I don't know if this is signifying that they're not aware of what's gonna happen, or the shadiness is like telling us that these guys are like all in cahoot with each other, which would explain why they're not using their burst form, because they know that this is not really it's just a test field. However, it's a reach. I do believe it's a reach. Yeah, so the most interesting part, the next chapter, is to see if this is going to work. The soul container is actually an overpowered kind of like tool. The Tengola A, I don't think so. That panel just shows them to focus on the fight to notice what's happening beyond. Yeah, based on Occam's Razor, that's obviously the case. Like, we all thought, they're just focusing on the battle and they didn't know. But, like, it's just worth factoring in that maybe this is the case because this type of drawing also signifies that, like, they're kind of like shady. I don't believe it personally, but like, it's not something that I would be surprised about if it happens, because like they're not hearing Jakuja and what's happening to her or to him, even though they're behind them. But you can't argue like the battlefield, the sounds of the battlefield. There are a lot of noises. They cannot really hear anything. Tugan Money, the queen of cockroaches, died from a lack of mana. Even though if you're a physically oriented demon, running out of mana doesn't leave you defenseless. That's a good point. I think it's three reasons. One of his allies are close to Gimbak. Second, burst take a lot of mana. Third, they have too much pride that they probably don't think they need it. That's a good point too. But let's look. Sure, like in the beginning of the fight, sure, that's the case. They have too much pride and they maybe still think they can defeat him, but like after seeing this display right here, like one-shotting Kanigani in his burst and just playing with Jakuja that way, not Jakuja, Balkalko, throwing her that way towards not Kanigani, Varnigams, it's like an insane display of power. Like one would think that this is the time where, okay, we gotta use our burst form. Somebody like Jakuja, right? Jakuja is the leader of this team up. Started to shit himself. It's like, okay, like this guy is insane. So one would think that they should drop their ego right here and just transform. Like, I don't know if that's, if that point is valid. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. Maybe like the next chapter, they're just gonna use their burst form right off the bat if he survives the soul container, which would be insane. Maybe they're gonna be able to, the other demons, they're gonna be able to sense how strong that attack is, and Gimbak withstanding it would render them to think, oh shit, we need to use our burst forms. We also should be open to the idea that like maybe not all demon lords have a burst form, by the way. Because a burst form is just, we say burst form, but like it's not really burst form. If we go to the Japanese, to the RAWs, it actually says release and then full release, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that like everybody has a release or a full release. Maybe some demon lords are like that strong without using that. But like it diminishes them because generals or leaders like Kiva does have a burst form. So like how can you be a demon lord and not have that? Do you think Eats I'm here, alright? Do you think Gimbak will be the first alpha of his faction to die versus other natural enemies alphas? I don't think so. I think that's too predictable. This is something that I predicted. It's not a prediction, right? It's something that I'm just throwing it intuitively, right? I feel like the first faction that would go would be the Medallions. Okay, it's just, there's no basis to that, by the way, no evidence. This is my feeling, right? I feel like these guys are just gonna have to go first. And the thing with Gimbak, sure, it does look that way. As I said in the beginning of the stream, he's being shown way too much. He's the strongest of a faction that is the most active, right? So like, maybe he's not supposed to stay for long. Maybe this is his end, by the way. Maybe Nudo just weakens him and then the Demon King just appears and kill him, which would be like a bad introduction for the Demon King. I hope that doesn't work. So what I'm saying is it's actually safe to assume that Gimbak would be the first one to go. But knowing how one writes, it doesn't seem like it's the case. I feel like Gimbak is, it's gonna continue with us for long. Hype Hope Vibe sub, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Imagine if it's Yaotsu, bro. It's like, well, if Yaotsu goes first, it's like, I can actually see it, by the way. I can actually see the character that we all believe is the strongest would die first. But I don't think it's gonna happen. Yaozu is just gonna be like a top tier character. Maybe like someone, the only character that can defeat him is maybe Byakuo. Or maybe two strongest of a faction need to team up against Yaozu. I do think Lawless will stay for a good while, potentially to the end, for sure, right? Because that's the most predictable. Like, everybody says, yo, the Lawless are actually just normal human beings, and it's safe to say that they're gonna go first. One is not somebody who writes this way, okay? And we've seen potentially what they can do. They're very, like, I wouldn't say high level, but like they're very versatile. They gather information. They adapt to the current situation. Then obviously not AI robots. I feel like the most dangerous are the AI robots. But I feel like the faction that comes next in terms of like, don't count them out. They may actually be a top tier faction in the future, are the Lawless. Because these guys are doing the work, bro. I feel like Demon King would show up to recruit Gembak. Nah, that's not gonna happen. If status of Demon Lord is strength based, this would be the first official alliance of factions. I don't think so. And even if it happens, I don't think Gembak is somebody who would follow another character, not from his species, because it feels like the Titans do care a lot about their species. They're just like they're like a family, and like they feel like they're superior to any other race. So I don't see them just following somebody else who's not a Titan, and it's not gonna happen. All right, my prediction is that we switch to Mothership fight, and then Curse Lord Gun will launch Gembak to Daiku to have Gembak versus Daiku. Nah, that's that's like you can never know. Maybe that's gonna happen. If we switch to the Mothership fight, that's, that would not be surprising. Even if we switch to Yaotsu's situation with Zabi and his people, I wouldn't really be surprised. But, sending Gembak towards Daikokuzan to have Daikokuzan versus Gembak is like, I don't feel like that's gonna happen. Gembak wouldn't care about teaming up with demons. He didn't care to listen to Diganazal either. Exactly, yeah. I think if anything, not Daikokuzan, Byakuo is gonna feel threatened towards Gembak. Not necessarily saying that like Byakuo is gonna feel like he's inferior or like on the same level as Gembak. Maybe Byakuo is stronger, but he'll at least feel threatened by him. Either threatened by him or like Boro style, like excited. Okay, I want to fight you. This is like a good opportunity for me to test my strength, kind of situation. I feel like Gimbak would recognize strength and sort of respect it, judging from how he treated Josh. Exactly. I feel like both of them would have that kind of interaction if it happened. Also, do you guys believe that like the next chapter we're gonna see Gimbak's drumming mode if he has any? If he has it in the first place? Because somebody like what's his name? Berzer, who would actually benefit from using his drumming mode right in this fight because he's getting overwhelmed easily. Uh why didn't he use it? Like why didn't he just, transform to help his father? So it's either he doesn't have it, or he's the kind of character who waits to see what they can do and then he transforms because he's the wise. But here in this instance, he did say 10 demon lords. They'll be tough opponents for any of us except for father. So like he's concluding that he's below them. Or maybe he's concluding that he's below 10 demon lords, not just like individually. All right. I feel like people underrate the factions we have not seen much of, like the tree or game or Gaia's Wrath. Remember, a group of aliens got taken out by an area in Gaia's Wrath. This is something I said in a previous stream. I said, you guys gotta approach this manga by thinking that every natural enemy is equally dangerous, not equally strong. Obviously, some natural enemies are stronger than the other, right? I'd say the demons, if the demons pull up on the AI robots or the lawless, for example, they're done. Nothing can be done to survive, right? So like obviously in strength they differ. But in threat level, right? In threat level, I would say all of them are kinda equal. As I said, there are natural enemies that has more advantages. Like for example, the AI robots, like the way they adapt, and even if you defeat them, they're gonna send another robot that is actually stronger, and it keeps happening and happening until they defeat you. Like it's an insane, it's an insane thing to have. However, as the guy said, natural enemies are natural enemies for a reason. We shouldn't be underestimating any of them. When you have the lawless, somebody like Rinri just like casually using the soul container, like he has a hero's sword. What else can he attain? What else could he gain knowledge of? So yeah, like you cannot really like underrate any natural, like especially the Gaia's Wrath, because a lot of people are saying the Gaia's Wrath natural enemy is feeling a little bit. It's kind of like they're kind of disappointing, to be honest, because people thought it's gonna be like a Dark Continent kind of natural enemy. And then you have the strongest of the forest being easily dealt with by Gimbak. Granted, this is Gimbak, obviously, but it's still the strongest of the force is still struggling against a low demon level, a demon lord, what's his name? Boxer is actually able to fight against the strongest of a Gaia's Wrath forest. So it's kind of like, they're kind of disappointing fighting wise. However, as the guy said, we know that two areas, medallions were sent to different areas for like of the Gaia's Wrath, and they just disappeared. I think like this is narratively implying that there's more to the Gaia's Wrath natural enemy. I mean, if you ask me, some humans just has it better compared to others, like living. No, obviously, like if we're comparing, I'm talking about the merged world, right? I'm not talking about, each word individually. Some has it easy, obviously, like the Daikokuzan. I feel like it's very easy to deal with Daikokuzan. There are sirens. You can hear the noise. The ground starts shaking. It's not like this is the rumbling where you have like millions or like hundreds of titans just trembling over the ground or like over earth. You can actually escape it and you can actually survive it. There are also other natural enemies that's very easy to survive them. Like just be a little bit more careful and that's it. Whereas with like demons and titans and especially the game, I feel like the game natural enemy is actually insane. Like imagine it's like it's like something that spawns out of nowhere and forces you to participate in a game, and that's why the characters feel like seem like they're deprived of sleep. That's like a nightmare natural enemy to deal with. So obviously that's the case. If we're talking about it like each word individually, sure. But when the merged word happen and natural enemies can take advantage of the merge or can take advantage of the new knowledge, for example, the titans now may be able to use magic in the future. So like in this sense, don't underestimate any natural enemy. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how they're going to beat Mother Tree. It's a continental-sized tree that can regenerate and attack back. Just requires a continental kind of attack or something like that. Like I would see Byakuo, for example, having like a destructive attack that can destroy the tree. Obviously, we still do not know what the tree is capable of. I don't think it's just a sucking power kind of like entity, and that's all there is to it. I feel like there's gonna be more, but I wouldn't like I would still see like a character, just a top tier character, being able to destroy the tree. I strangely think Joshi will outlast the Demon King, and it will be Joshi versus Halo at the conclusion. Yes, there's a theory about that. Like some people believe that Joshi actually has connections to the Demon King because of the similarities in their designs. They kind of like have a lot of similarities. So maybe he's the one who would actually succeed the Demon King after he dies, and then we have Halo, who's at that point one of the, if not the strongest character in the entire verse, going up against the strongest demon, not demon, the strongest natural enemy. Maybe that's the case. Because if we think about it, the demons are the main natural enemy for the main character. And obviously, not obviously, one would think that we will in the future see a rematch between Halo and Joshi. So if you think that's going to be endgame, then Joshi sure would outlast Byakuo. I can see that. I can see Joshi being the only character who's approaching Byakuo's level because of the whole narrative how do you say it? Implication? No, implications, right? Of like Joshi wanting to fight against Genback even though he experienced him first. He still thinks he can defeat him, right? So I think, me personally, I think he's delusional. Obviously, he doesn't know that Genback might have a drumming mode. So maybe he thinks, okay, if I transform to Burst, I'll be able to even things out. But, narratively speaking, it does kind of make you lean towards the idea that Joshi is actually an insanely strong demon lord that may be able to, like, in the future, reach the Demon King's level or even surpass it. So, like, that idea is not really far-fetched. It's a plausible idea. I can see it happening. There are also other theories, right? And you should take them with a grain of salt. Like, for example, it's like a very small theory of like Joshi being able maybe to gain more power or become stronger the more he consumes, right? If he consumes somebody that has insane mana, he's gonna just gain that. The reason he's not doing that now is because all the demon lords are just weaker than him and it's not gonna make a difference. So like imagine when other characters starts gaining mana from other natural enemies, I would say maybe that's gonna be giving him a greater boost. The reason we think that is because of the whole thing. When he fought the robots, he tried to eat one, and there's like a word, like a playing of words with Nudo saying something about consuming. Hold on, let's go to it. So like it's a far-fetched story, theory, I mean, and maybe that's the way of him to actually like be able to, maybe like that's a specific exclusive ability that he has as a demon that will make him reach the Demon King and even surpass him. But obviously these are just theories, take them with a grain of salt. If demon lords or demons in general eat giants' hearts, like what humans do, I think they would have more access to burst forms. That would be insane. That's a good idea too. You cannot count anything when it comes to one's writing. It's just, he can just do anything and it would actually make sense. So there's something here, hold on. Yeah, I don't remember exactly where he said it, but he did say something about consuming. It's like a play of words. Okay, I'm not liking this OST. I cannot fathom what you're thinking, however, not everyone can have their cake and eat it, dear Joshi. So this one is like, why would you say that? Sure, like maybe this is just metaphorical and that's it, but like him eating the robot first and concluding, he doesn't have mana, adds to it. So, maybe it's his thing. I knew it. They're not alive. See? If Joshi turns out to be like a weak demon lord, not weak, I wouldn't say weak, but like at least mid-tier demon lord, I would actually be very disappointed. I would want him to be the strongest or one of the strongest. Like at least maybe like just two other demon lords can compete with him. Or even defeat him. I don't have any problem with defeating him. But I don't want him to be like a mid-tier demon lord. Hopefully. So yeah, going back to the predictions, right? If we think that we're only going to get um, the continuation of Gimbak versus the Demon Lords, we don't shift the camera towards the mothership or the Yaotsu situation, right? What would you guys believe or predict would be the cliffhanger of the next chapter? The best scenario for me would be Gimbak defeats every single Demon Lord, and the Demon King appears, and then we have a cliffhanger of the Demon King going up against Gimbak. That would be insane. What if Nyudo is the only one that actually kills the Demon King? I don't see that possibility not happening. Like it's something that may happen in the future because Nyudo is that type of character. He's this what's the word? A scheming? Is that a word? He's a character that operates behind the scene way too much. He strategizes. So like I wouldn't really like be surprised if he's the one who takes out the Demon King. Scheming and crafty. So yeah, like I do want all of these demon lords to just die. Nyaguro, not new though. Nyaguro, Jahivi, Vuvu. I don't want any of them to survive. Especially if Gimbak uses his burst mode, not burst mode, drumming mode, right? If Gimbak uses his drumming mode and more than one demon lord survives, I feel like it would diminish Gimbak, to be honest. Kaiju monster, third party, everyone. Yeah, you can never know. Maybe there's also the possibility of the worm, the parasite worm, to appear since they're like in the Gaia's Rat's forest. Daikukuzan appearing would be insane. Do we think that Varningams is also dead, by the way? Because when I was reacting to the chapter a month ago, and I was saying, oh, he killed Varnigams, and I got a lot of comments saying, yo, Varnigams is not dead. Because she was just thrown out from the domain expansion, the barrier. But I feel like that would be enough confirmation for me, to be honest. If I don't see Varnigams in the next chapter, I'll just confirm her to be dead. What if they run away or get launched away from the fight like Varnigams? No. They gotta be dead in order for me to be satisfied. I want to see them scared, just like boxer, right? Before before they all came in and he magically got courageous again. Before that, he was completely scared of getting back. I want it to be the case with all demon lords. I just think the Demon King won't be that crucial to the story, especially with unpredictable how unpredictable one is. Look, the way it's being written, it does seem like he's going to be crucial to the story. As I said, we've seen every single top tier except Byakuo, and that's done for a reason. It's not just gonna keep him in the shadow, and then as soon as he brings him out, he's just gonna be like not really important for the story. It wouldn't make any sense. It's gonna be bad writing. I don't think it's gonna happen. The way it's looking like, the way they're hyping up Byakuo, just means he's going to be crucial to the story. Okay? And I would not even be surprised, right? And go back to the stream if it happens. I would not be surprised if Byakuo's first time introduction would be him taking care of a natural enemy. Like him, like literally wiping out a natural enemy. That would be crazy, bro. Like imagine like he just goes to I don't want it to be like against the lawless, because that would just be overkill, right? So like obviously it needs to be like a strong faction. I don't think it's the AI robots. The AI robots are there to last. They made it clear, like narratively speaking, it's made clear that the robots are gonna evolve and they're gonna be like a major natural enemy. So like I don't want Byakuo to just go to the factories and destroy every single one of them, because AI robots makes the story much more compelling, much more interesting. So not the AI robots, not the lawless. How would he take care of the parasites? I wouldn't like him to just go destroy the world tree, because we have nothing about the world tree, and the world tree is gonna be like very important to the story, where people just take word essence and get a boost. It's gonna like make a difference in like a 1v1 fight. Imagine somebody fights somebody who's weaker than him, and then that character just drinks the world essence and gets a boost and just defeats the other character. So like I don't want it to be that. So imagine Byakuo's first introduction, right? He goes to destroy either the neo-humans, or what I would love to happen is the medallions. Because the medallions, they kind of look down on the demons, right? Imagine Byakuo just magically just flies to to space. That would be insane, right? Just flies to space and goes to the mothership and destroys every single one of them. That would be an insane introduction. All right, let me just read the chat. I feel like one got a use for her later, maybe to hype up someone else. You're talking about Varnigant? Shankston, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Maybe a team of medallions. If that happens, that would be pretty cool. I don't want him to just like fight against a team of strong combatants and that's it. It would be an insane introduction if he just goes and completely wipes out the medallions. There's no medallions natural enemy anymore. It would actually make sense, because if you think about it, the medallions now are trying to investigate what mana is, right? And they're the one who poked the bear first. They're the one who actually messed with the demons first. The way they treated Kiva and his other fellow leaders. Oki having to deal with, what's his name? Joshi. And now they're trying to investigate mana, as I said. What if just the Demon King, just, I wouldn't say Frieza style, but like Piccolo style, just goes to space, destroys the mothership, completely dominates the medallions, and that's his introduction. So that would be insane. Like the Demon Lord they captured, send a signal to him, so he flies over to see what. Bro, that would be, that's the best. That's actually the best explanation of why he just like goes to space. Because I wouldn't believe Byakuo just has the extrasensory ability to just, notice that there are people in space. So if just somebody sends a signal and then he goes there, it would be like the perfect explanation and the best thing that would happen. But obviously, we're just theorizing. I don't think this shit is gonna happen. But this would be the best introduction for the natural enemy, the strongest of a natural enemy that's being hyped up the most. Also, I feel like Gimbak versus Byakuo is definitely going to happen at some point. This is going to happen for sure. It's either that or okay, what's this music, bro? It's either that or Joshi rematches Gimbak. So yeah, hopefully all of these guys die. The only character that wouldn't die is Nudo because he's not physically there. Let's see just how powerful a soul container that has absorbed the whole demon lord can be. There's uh, um, another possibility that I still didn't think of that I just thought about right now. Imagine Yudo, right? Imagine Yudo actually defeats Gimbak, which is something that we will all hate in the community. Like, hopefully, it's not gonna happen. Yudo, you're cool, but you're not that guy. I don't want you to be the one who defeats Gimbak. But imagine it happens, right? This would give Nudo the opportunity, um, especially if he actually doesn't kill Gimbak, but like Gimbak is experiencing like a near-death experience where like he's at death's door, right? He would actually have the opportunity and the chance to absorb Gimbak in a soul container. Imagine how strong that would be. Shankston, and this would be right after he finds out the Demon Lord team failed, so he feels forced to get involved. Yeah, this is the cliffhanger that I would want for the next chapter. All of them did just die, right? And Gimbak would be just ready to leave, and then Byakuo just comes out of nowhere. It's like a superhero landing, right? It's like, so you are Gimbak or something like that. That would be crazy, but we can only hope to dream. I feel like the top three faction that would last longest, other than humans, is God, character, World Tree, possible parasites. Not really. Like, I feel like the demons are gonna last longer. The demons, I'm confident with the demons to last until the end of the story. Yaotsu, I can see that. And the World Tree, I can see that. The parasites, I don't think so. I think there's gonna be a solution for the parasites. Since one of the demon lords are gone. Yeah, no, I want all of them to be gone. Oh, you're talking like on like overall for sure, yeah. One fourth of the demon lords is just gone. He's like, yo, what the hell is happening? And the one who's responsible, or mostly responsible for that, is actually Gimbak. So, the matchup is right there. The reasons are right there to make this matchup. How do you think Nudo eventually dies? He also has potential to be the last remaining enemy with his keenness and intellect. Yeah, I can see Nudo being one of the last. I don't see him like to be the last obstacle, but I can see him as a character that has knowledge of every single natural enemy, tools, and just like stuff to use. Imagine, for example, imagine he gets his hand, like he just uses the red pill. I don't know if the red pill is gonna work on demons, but like imagine he just eats a red pill. He uses a soul container. Um, what else do we have? Maybe like have robotic parts, or just knows how to control robots or something. Maybe like he just becomes this insane of like a programmer and be able to overdo the AI, like just overwrites the program of the AI robots. That's far-fetched, obviously, but like I'm just saying that like Nudo is that kind of character that's gonna be using every single thing, every new single thing to overcome the biggest obstacles. However, I don't see him to be, the big bad guy. I don't see him to be like the last obstacle. Who would kill him? To be honest, I have absolutely no idea. Maybe it's just gonna be as simple as the Demon King. Maybe it's somebody like Joshi, because they do have tension. Maybe it's going to be a hero he underestimated. Maybe it's going to be Hallow. Like the possibilities are endless. Or this is a really good scenario too, where he gathers a lot of info, he uses a lot of tools, he's just like super versatile, he thinks he's the best, he thinks he's the strongest, nobody can fight him, nobody can deal with him, but he doesn't have info on a specific person or a specific character, which would be Yaozu, right? Imagine he just uses every single thing he has in his arsenal against Yaozu, but he doesn't know that this is an actual divine being. Like, this shit is not gonna work. That would be insane. I see him thinking he is in control, and then something like the robots or other sentient natural enemies outsmart him, or had a factor he didn't account for. Exactly. And the one you would not account for is God. Literally. Somebody that can just do anything out of any, like just doesn't abide by the rules, right? The first time we see Yaozu, his face is splattered in the sky. Like, just pinned in the sky. I don't think people would think a character can do shit like that. Demon Factions has absolutes. Demon Factions absolutely has no teamwork. That's what you're trying to say. And no good IQ and barely loyalty among each other. Other than Yudo and Demon King, the rest are cooked. The idea with the Demon faction, right? They are a natural enemy that values strength and power. They're not your, like, I think that's their weakness, as you're saying. I don't think, other than you, though, they're willing to investigate and trying to take things from other natural enemies and stuff. The only thing that makes me think these guys are gonna last for long is just because they're the main natural enemy of the main character. Okay, it's who we started with. Now you can't argue, okay, maybe this is an unpredictable manga, and just because we started with these guys doesn't mean we're gonna end with them. If we want the rematch of Hallow versus Joshi, maybe it's just gonna be Hallow versus Joshi. Joshi is the only remaining character out of all of this natural enemy faction. You might be right. However, as I said, the way they're kind of like hyping up, I wouldn't say hyping up, because there's only one statement about Byakuo that was issued so far, which is Nudo saying Byakuo is an extraordinary demon that doesn't even concern himself with the changes that happens to the world. He doesn't give a shit. That's how strong he is, right? And the way, as I said, the way they're hyping him up by still not showing him the only natural enemy, the only strongest of a natural enemy that we still didn't see, kind of gives merit that this is going to be a very troublesome opponent, somebody that maybe is or would be an endgame character. As I said, if like in my mind right now, the way I see it, and obviously this is subjective, the only character that I feel like intuitively, baseless assumptions obviously, I feel like is going to counter Yaozu is the Great Demon King. He's the only character that I have in mind. Imagine Yaozu just, tries to use his hacks against the Demon King and it doesn't work. And like he has to fight him physically. I can see Rinri killing him. They kind of like parallel each other. That's a really good possibility too. I still like the idea Yaozu can make angels out of people, giving them fraction of his power, but they are enslaved to him. That would be insane, yeah. The first one maybe being Rinri and Gore. That's crazy, bro. Imagine Rinri and Gore just becomes angels, like or, I mean, like angel or demon, pawns of God, just like One Punch Man style, like an avatars of God. Yeah, that would be insane. What do we think about these power scaling, by the way? What do we think about the do you think these demon lords are like on the level of Joshi, or is it straight up confirmed that these guys are just, not on Joshi's level? Because right here, Gimbak is calling them boring, right? How boring. But like he did say, I wouldn't say he did treat Joshi differently. He punched Joshi, sent him flying, and then he didn't die, and then he turned to Gory, and he's like, I now understand why you were defeated. It's not because you're weak, you were just fighting an unfortunately strong character. So he gave him his respect, right? But with these guys, they don't seem like um, if we're gonna see Gimba giving respect to any other character, it would be Nudo maybe in the next chapter. Maybe like if the attack did something, he's gonna say, "Oh, you're actually like very interesting. You're actually strong." Because I don't believe that Gimbak knows the soul container thing, so like he might believe that this is something conjured by Nudo's power. But so other than Nudo and Joshi, he does not respect these demon lords. He doesn't think they're strong enough. Gimbak gave Joshi a bit more respect than other 10 demon lords. Exactly. And one other thing you gotta factor in, right? We know that Nudo, I don't know if we know it for sure, but like it's kind of implied that Nudo isn't really here to actually defeat Gimbak. Or did he say that, by the way? I don't remember if it's just our theory or like he did say that. So I don't believe that Nudo came here for the intention, okay, we're gonna defeat Gimbak. He knows that this is just a testing field. I'm just gonna test stuff out. Hence, that's why he's not physically here. The reason I'm saying this is because Nudo in the previous chapter did say, wait, let me get back to the previous chapter. He did say, yo, be careful. This is a character, or this is a guy that was actually able to tank Joshi's punch. So to Nudo, being able to tank Joshi's punch is much more impressive than Gimbak killing all the demon lords he killed before. Because when they came here, they knew that Gimbak killed 4 demon lords. Is it 4? 4 or 3? 4, right? But to Nudo, it's like, yo, you guys gotta chill, okay? This guy was able to tank Joshi's punch. So to Nudo, Joshi, like being able to tank Joshi's punch is much more impressive than killing 4 demon lords. This is not just, a comparison of Gimbak giving Joshi his respect. Nudo is also giving Joshi his respect. Most of them are mid-tier demon lords. To me, with the few being high tier, but Joshi and Nudo are top tier demon lords. Yeah, I can see that. I would say a low demon lord would be on the level of Boxer, obviously. I don't see Boxer, for example, being able to fight against Royal Roach or Diganazal. That's just not going to be the case. I would say Royal Roach, Diganazal, and these other guys, right? I would put them in like the mid tier of demon lords. Obviously, some of them they're going to be interchangeable, and some of them are going to be stronger than the others. And matchups obviously matter. For example, Kanigani, Varnigams, and Balkalko, they're kind of like vanguards. They fight offensively. They don't use long distance attacks like Hitodinam, Nyaguro, or maybe like even Nudo. So obviously matchups matter. Maybe Kanigani is going to be able to overwhelm Hitodinam in like a close quarter fight, whereas Hitodinam is just going to overwhelm Kanigani in a long distance fight, right? However, I do believe that they're all under the same tier, with Joshi and possibly like Nudo using stuff like the soul container would be like a top tier demons. I don't I do remember when I was making the tiering list, I placed Diganazal above these guys. I don't believe that anymore, to be honest. Because going back to the statement Nudo issued to Joshi, informing him that Diganazal was defeated um, by Gimbak, he does say that it was not overwhelming, one-sided from start to finish. So we shouldn't be hyper analyzing the first clash, right? If Nudo said it was one-sided, it was one-sided. So I would say Diganazal, Kanigani, Varnigams, and Balkalko are on the same level, literally. I like how Nudo, even though he's a snake and a bit traitorous, he does try to give Demon Lords decent advice, even though none of Demon Lords use that. I think he's not giving them advices because kind of like they're like on the same species or like the same team. I think like there's always something to it. The reason he gives info is to for them to try to do something. Like everything is a testing field. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think he cares. I think like he's giving them info for them to try to do things in order for him to test his hypothesis. I have the Peacock and Turtle Demon Lords as high tier Demon Lords since she has an anti mana shell and had good reaction time. The Peacock, are you talking about Jakuja? Because for me, Jakuja is the type of character that like I would put Jakuja at low demon if I had to, for example. Because like the reason I'm saying this is because Jakuja's ability is a supporting type of ability. He doesn't, if he's if he's not with the team, I don't think it's gonna work that much. Obviously, maybe it's gonna work where like he's gonna weaken his opponents, but that's pretty much it. Like I feel like it's a supporting ability much more than an offensive ability. If Jakuja doesn't have anything other than that, then I don't feel like Jakuja is really like a top tier demon. He needed to show more. Whereas with Varnigams, having the shell is useful. Maybe like when getting a strong attack, she can just turn around and like literally stops it. So you can argue that all of these guys, they're not going to be effective against Varnigams. For example, this petrification magic, if Jahivi fought against Varnigams, Varnigams just turns around and this is not going to work. And this seems to be the extent of what he can do. So he's going to be useless against Varnigams. Granted, she's also going to be immobile, right? But against somebody like, for example, who can fight offensively, like Kanigani, right? Somebody who can fight on a close quarter range. I don't think it's gonna matter that much. She can stop attacks coming from Hitodinam or Nyaguro, since they're like, as I said, long distance fighters. They're just gonna bombard her with stuff, and she can just literally just use her back in order to stop these attack for sure. But against somebody who fights on the offensive, she's not. She's not that impressive. Oh yeah, I didn't think about a one-on-one. Yeah, I'm talking about a one-on-one situation. When we rank from weakest to strongest, obviously we think about their chances on a 1v1 situation. We don't think about what they can do in a team up. For example, I can see Jahivi being a support character much more than a character that can fight well in a 1v1 encounter, right? Because this guy is using this petrification magic and like probably maybe is going to work against a lot of demon lords, but a demon lord that has a reaction time to, like, for example, right here we see Berzer being able to evade it. You can argue he was already behind this rock, but like this type of movement indicates that he was with them, he was in range, and then he just dodged it. Somebody like that would be able to defeat Jahivi pretty easily because he's a one-trick pony so far, right? Like we still didn't see his burst mode. Because we did see we did see Berser after trying to attack him, and another demon lord had to step up and use a barrier to protect Jahivi. So Jakuja, I feel like, is that type of character too. Jakuja and Jahivi, they're like one trick pony. They needed to be protected all the time in a 1v1 encounter. If their ability doesn't work from the start, they're cooked. If Jahivi uses his petrification and the demon lord he's fighting just dodges it, he's cooked. As long as you can stay out of his sight and tank the petrification for a moment, he is done for. Exactly. Exactly. Jahivi does seem to be surprised that Gimbak is able to stop his petrification magic. Kinda necessitates that maybe he's never had to deal with this before. Maybe like this one is just gonna be effective against any demon lord, which is more stocks to him. However, as I said, a vanguard type of demon lord, Kanigani, Varnigams, especially Varnigams with her anti magic shell or whatever, they're going to be able to overcome him pretty easily. Granted, as I said, we do not know what his burst form can do. We don't even know if he can fight physically. Maybe in the next chapter he's going to prove us wrong and just, have more tricks up his sleeve. But for now, to me, he's a support character, just like Jakuja. Maybe after the next chapter, we're gonna do a stream where we talk about or like tiering every single demon from weakest to strongest, specifically for the demon faction. It's a much more interesting topic. Because the best way to actually tier every single character in a fictional story, let's say for example you want to understand the scaling of the verse as a whole, you don't start by scaling every single character from the start. You don't just open a tiering list and just have every single character. It's going to be overwhelming. It's just going to be insanely overwhelming. The best way to do it is, let's say we're talking about One Punch Man, right? You start with, okay, let me rank the demon level monsters by themselves. Let me understand how strong the demons are and how they compare to each other. And then do the dragon level monsters, and then do the above dragons, and do maybe tiger level monsters. And then go do A class heroes by themselves, B class, C class, S class heroes. Then when you finish these tiering lists, you put them together and try to have an overall tiering list. That's how you do it. Because after you tier every single faction by itself, you're gonna have a better understanding of how to tier every single character from weakest to strongest. So maybe that's what we're going to do, because the first tiering list that I did with you guys, when I went back to it, I started seeing holes. I was like, wait a second, this character should be above this. No, this character should not be here. It's obviously matchups matter and characters can be interchangeable based on the scenarios. There are characters that are situational. But as I said, when I went back, I found a lot of holes. So from now on, to perfectly scale this verse, we're gonna start ranking from a faction to another. So we're gonna start with the demons, or maybe not just the demons, like the Sorcerians as a whole, right? The Sorcerian world. So we're gonna start with that, and then maybe go to the Titans faction. Titans faction is actually pretty easy to scale. There's nothing. Everything is actually like it's established in the story. So like we start this way, and then after we combine between all of them. I can imagine a large amount of mana should shield them from petrification for a bit. I can see that happening, kind of like a Nin defense, right? Like a cursed energy kind of like layer. So I can see that happening. I don't know if you talked about it yet, but do you think Berser will transform next chapter? If he look, I've talked about it before, and I did say it's actually pretty weird that he still did not transform, because he's getting bombarded, especially in this chat, in this page right here, in this panel. He's bleeding from his head. This is the perfect times, like since he's already nerfed, so to even out the situation, he needed to transform here. Okay. Why he didn't do it kinda implies that maybe he doesn't have a drumming mode. Maybe not every single Titan has a drumming mode, but it would actually be weird to see normal base Titans have a drumming mode, but these guys don't. However, you can explain it by these guys are too superior to the base Titans. The base Titans, when they use the drumming mode, the power they have, they can contain it. But this guy is too strong, he needs to train more for his drumming mode. It's a good explanation. So, if he does not use his drumming mode next chapter, look, it's a different situation if Gimbak just deals with every single Demon Lord by himself. Berserk doesn't even need to intervene. But if, let's say, for example, this situation is still happening where Berserk is fighting Vuvu, right? And he's getting his ass kicked while Gimbak is fighting the other Demon Lords, and he does not use the drumming mode, it would mean he does not have drumming mode in the first place. So going back to the question, do I think he will use drumming mode? I do think so. But if he doesn't, that means he just doesn't have it, which would be disappointing. So maybe like when he uses mana, as we're always predicting, kind of like it's going to unlock something physically where he can use his drumming mode. Also, this character is supposed to be the wise, right? Obviously, he's stronger than the base Titans. He can take a slap from Gimbak, which means he's a top tier in that specific faction. But him being the wise maybe is because he's supposed to be an IQ or a thinking character. So he never tried to use drumming mode. He never like trained for it. Doesn't really give a shit. That's not his role as a Titan. Whereas with the other Titans, his other brothers like Gori, he does have a drumming mode because he fights. So obviously all of these are speculations and assumptions. Nothing is really confirmed. But if he doesn't have a drumming mode, it's very safe to have these assumptions. But hopefully I can see his drumming mode in the next chapter. However, I still believe Berserk is actually fairly strong, since he's taking punishment from a Demon Lord that is actually boosted while he is nerfed, and he's not getting one-shotted. Maybe this Demon Lord is a speed type rather than an explosively AP Demon Lord. Maybe this guy is not supposed to be physically strong, but just too fast. We've seen a lot of characters that way. For a long time in One Punch Man, we thought that Flashy Flash is that type of character where like he's insanely fast, good with the sword, but if he gets hit, he's done. But this was proven to be not the case in the future. So maybe Vuvu is, is the Flashy Flash we thought about before. I thought Berserk already did transform on chapter 34. No, he never transformed. Which is weird. Two things are weird in this chapter. Some Demon Lords are literally seeing Kanigani, Varningams, and Balkalko being easily overwhelmed by Gimbak, and they still didn't transform to burst form. Like, for example, right here, hold on. Right here, right, they use the Meteor, and then, Kanigani just gets one-shotted. He dies, by the way, because a lot of people try to argue with me that he didn't die. Look at him, like, there's no head. His head got bursted. He exploded his, I don't know if that's a good use of English, but like his head exploded. So like he destroyed all of them here, and one would think that these Demon Lords would, after seeing their shit, like these guys at least, Jahivi, Makiman, and Hitodinam, and Nyagoro, and especially after Jakuja is sweating, one would think these guys would go like, okay, burst mode, but they're not going burst mode. So are they confident they can still fight against Gimbak? Or they simply do not have a burst form? Imagine they just do not have a burst form. That would be disappointing. I think the transformation of the 100 brothers must be different from that of the basic Titans. That's probably why we haven't seen their transformation yet. Likewise, each demon lord's transform. That's actually a very good point. Yeah, drumming mode. They may have a drumming mode, but like it's not really the same as the basic titans. Maybe like they have forms. Imagine they have like a, but that would be too far fetched. Imagine like they wouldn't have a drumming mode, but they would have something else. Imagine like the platinum mode or some shit like that. So yeah, we do not know. We do not know anything at this point. We're just having assumptions and speculations at the end of the day. But if these guys just get defeated while using base, right? Like let's say for example the next chapter we don't see Makimon or Jahivi or Hitodinam or Nyagoro using burst mode and just get killed by Gimbak. It's I would be it would be safe to assume they do not have a release form or a burst form. Not having a burst form, by the way, is not does not necessitate that you're a low demon level, no demon lord, right? It's like, for example, think about it this way: I would see suppressed base Joshi, stronger than some the other demon lords that have a burst mode. I can see that happening. Likewise, each demon lord's transformation is unique. That's true. Then I don't think we can even call it a transformation, by the way. A burst, when you have a burst, doesn't mean you would transform. Look at Boxer Boxer. He used a burst and he did not transform. It's just a boost of his ability. And the reason people thought it's a burst is a transformation, you shouldn't think about it as a transformation. You think about it as a Bankai. I don't know if you guys watch Bleach or read it. Bankai is can manifest in different ways. You either transform to a different kind of like form, or you gain something, maybe like a boost in speed or a boost in strength or whatever, or a boost in hacks, gain this new hacks. So that's how you should think about it. The word burst kind of indicates a transformation. However, as I said before, I don't know if you guys are aware, in the Japanese language, if you translate that, it doesn't say burst. Actually, it says full release. So they have release and then full release. Okay, so doesn't necessarily. It's not really a transformation. Maybe it's just a boost in a certain ability. People have said their burst forms might be an ultimate spell instead, but they call it burst. Yeah, I think it's an ultimate spell kind of thing. It's just the first characters we've seen use burst gave us the impression that burst is a transformation. It's not. It's not really a transformation. It could be a transformation and could be something else, as I said. The biggest proof is the Boxer Boxer. Boxer Boxer used burst, and I had to double check, by the way. I thought maybe it's release and it's just a bad translation, but no, it was actually the burst form. And he did not transform, he just got a boost in his ability. This one: Burst, Frenzy, Whip, Link. Okay, this is. The other proof too is Jakuja's ability. Now that I'm thinking about it, Jakuja did not transform his boost. Always calling Jakuja her. His boost or their boost uses a barrier, so it's not a transformation. Whereas with Kandigani, Balkalko, and Varney Gums, they do transform. And the Peacock's burst was an ultimate spell instead. Exactly, that's what I said. The Ganazal technically doesn't transform either. She just gets into a flesh mech suit. Exactly, yeah. So yeah, it's not really now that I'm thinking about it, Did Varningham's actually transform? Is this supposed to be a transformation? She just got bulked up. So yeah, I cannot wait for the next chapter, man. I hope it's tomorrow. Really hope it's tomorrow. Really miss talking about verses, man. There's actually a video that I want to put up in this channel, and I'll start working on it as soon as I finish working on the video that I'm making for my main channel. Um, I'll be doing, this is an overkill, right? But like, I just want to do it. I just want to talk about verses, and I don't really care about this being a mismatch or an overkill, but I want to do it. I want to do Gimbak versus the Rumbling, right? From Attack on Titan. Because like both of them being Titans, and it's like a very interesting. I do want to talk about versus outverse scaling wise, because we got more content or more chapters to understand how strong they are, especially if he performs well in the next chapter. We did get hint leaks early, so it could be tomorrow. I see her shell transformed since she broke her decoration. I see. Yeah, I do know the reason I started making this, the reason I started streaming is because I know that the spoilers and the hints got dropped. A friend of mine did tell me that, and I was like, yo, keep that shit out of, like, I don't want to hear anything about it. And thankfully, you guys are also cool about it. I don't know if you guys read it or not, but nobody has mentioned anything that's gonna happen. It's all for the good reaction, because, like, when I know what's gonna happen, it's like, it's not really for the reaction. Like the way I feel about it, if I know prior what's gonna happen, it's when I read it, I'm not really gonna feel hyped about it that much. But reading it, having absolutely no knowledge of what's gonna happen, is just gives me much more hype, gives me much more goosebumps. And for you guys, it's gonna be a good reaction too. Eren sweating bullets when he sees Gory. There's no Gory, by the way. No Gory, no Berser. It's just Gimbak, by the way. This is Gimbak seeing like hundreds. I don't think it's like thousands, hundreds of thousands of Titans that doesn't listen to him, and it's like, what is happening? And he just goes and deals with them. So like, I'm just gonna talk about the scaling and where he scales, speed-wise, attack potency-wise, how he would deal with them narratively, how their personalities would interact with each other, how Eren would shit himself being the founding Titan and still not being able to control Gimbaks. Like, yo, what the hell is going on? I actually did something like that. For One Punch Man. It's called Maruguri, or Beefcake versus the Rumbling. The video did actually pretty well. So I'm very excited to do something with verses. If the video performed well, I'm gonna start doing versus, not content, because I'll be doing that regardless, but versus matchups, if that makes sense. How do you see Father Titans scale to AOT Titans, by the way? Obviously, Father Titans are stronger than AOT Titans for sure. AOT Titans, if I'm gonna be very generous, I'll say they're like a city block type of. They have city block attack potency, with the only exception being the Colossal Titan. And there's also another exception with the Colossal Titan being able to explode. I think that explosion generates town level kind of destructive capabilities. So I don't think, on second hand, maybe the normal base Titans would still be able to fight against the Colossal Titan, since the naval robot is able to output, what's the word? It's able to vaporize the ground, and if you calculate it, it's actually large town level. And if we're about to argue that a base Titan is able to fight against a naval robot, or at least the drumming mode would be able to do that, then a drumming mode base Titan is strong enough to tank the destructiveness of the Colossal Titans. It's that in like versus is that strong of a verse. All right, it's like it would also actually be like an interesting matchup if we do Daikokuzan versus the Rumbling too. Also, if we if we say there's actually a better scaling too. If we say that Vuvu right here, right? Vuvu in base form, while he's actually being boosted, should be physically stronger. If we say that, right? If we say he should be physically stronger than Burst Kiva, who's just a leader. This is a demon lord. Kiva is just a leader, right? If we say this guy on a basic level, not a basic level, on a physical level, is stronger than Burst Mode Kiva, right? Who's able to fight against the naval robots and defeat it, means that these guys not dying from from these attacks is straight up like each one of them is straight up stronger than the colossal titans. That's like it's insane, bro. They also die to World War I weapons now that I think about it. Exactly. I have basic titans over naval robots right now. Uh, Basic titans over what give what why? Why would you say that? Is there like a clear comparison that I'm missing? It's been a while since I actually scaled versus. So yeah, like base. If you're saying base rumble, not in you cannot say that. If you're saying basic rumbling titans, they're above Naver, then sure. Rumbling, I said drumming mode, bro. Like I'm actually tired. Unless Navers are major class cannons. I don't think they're glass cannons because Kiva struggled with one. Struggled heavily, by the way. So yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, Gimbak is actually overkill for the rumbling. But again, the rumbling, there are numbers that says they're either like in the 500,000, like their numbers like it's around that range, 500,000 titans or millions, because there's a statement of Tiber saying that the king promised to unleash millions of colossal titans. So, can Gimbak actually overcome millions of colossal titans? Versus drumming mode titans. Yeah, yeah. I do have drumming mode titans above naval robots. For sure, yeah. I wouldn't say they're above. I would say like they're on a similar tier, right? It can go either way because I feel like even basic titans, they differ. We're gonna have, for example, the basic titan we've seen against Hallow. Like Hallow just went there and just one shot at the basic titan. I feel like that one is weak. The one we've seen in chapter 2, I think that one is weak too. Yeah, now you would have to say Attack on Titan Titans and versus Titans to differentiate between exactly. Yeah. That's true. It's just a fun video. It's a clear mismatch. Obviously, I feel like if you put Gimbak literally in the middle of these drumming mode, not drumming mode, rumbling mode, rumbling mode Titans, or Attack on Titan Titans, if you put Gimbak just in the middle of the rumbling and have them explode, which they don't have that ability, by the way. Only the colossal Titan that is part of the 9 Titans can do that. Even if we say they can all transform at the same time, they're not going to be able to defeat Gimbak. Gimbak is still going to be standing no problem. Especially, bro. Especially if the next chapter he actually tanks Nudo's attack. Well, Heidi took out a Naver and multiple Neo-Humans were needed to take out a single Titan. Yeah, but then again, I believe that Heidi is above the normal Neo-Humans. Being the brother of a leader. I feel like there's merit to it. Obviously, there's no evidence for it. There are no evidence for it, but I feel like that's how it is. I also want to see more of the medallions, by the way. I want the medallions to be really strong so that I can make a Boros versus the medallions video. Both of them being an alien invasion, both of them having kind of like similar ships, you know? It's a really compelling video. And I don't know if you guys follow One Punch Man. We're in the New Heroes arc where some AI robots are making an appearance. So maybe in the future, AI robots are versus AI robots of One Punch Man. It's, a lot of matchups that could be made between these two verses. It's just like so similar. So similar, bro. By the way, one thing I've noticed when rereading One Punch Man, hold on, let me try to go and find the chapter, which is very interesting. It's something related to verses, right? What's the chapter of Amai Mask talking to? All right, it's way off. It's way off. Hold on. The only evidence is she seemed to be the leader of a group and had a larger weapon than the rest of. Exactly, but that's it's not really sufficient. I just want Joshi to be on Boris's level, man. Look, if you want Joshi to be on current Boris's level, then yeah. But like, because literally the next video that I'm making, by the way, it's called "No One Understands How Strong Boros Is." I feel like in the future of the manga, right? Because I don't want to spoil a lot of things that happens in the webcomics. Boros is gonna be having an insane upscale. So maybe Joshi can, actually there are evidence to suggest that right now he is near the level of Boros because of the black hole thing. If you believe that the black hole is real, then in order to create it requires small planetary ranges of power, and Joshi being able to tank the black hole, he was getting overwhelmed by it for sure, but like after that he was tanking it. It didn't happen, nothing happened to him. And Uki did say that it's not trying to damage the celestial environment. And celestial environments, when you hear celestial, it always refers to a planet, right? So if you argue that that's a real black hole, then Joshi, even when he was suppressed, was able to tank, goddamn, a small planetary level of power. So then you have base Joshi, and then you have release Joshi, and then you have burst Joshi. So you can argue that he is already on Boros's level if you believe that Boros is only planetary. But I do have him at large planetary. It's gonna be a problem. But anyways, I'm gonna show you guys something in the One Punch Man manga that that caught my attention. Okay, so this site really doesn't have the chapters in order, so that's a problem. Alright, so let me just go and bring the scan. Hey, let me read the chat. I also need to see King versus Game World. So that would be insane, bro. And the other Neo Humans got one shot. True. At least for me, I feel like it was a simulated black hole, not a real one, but that's just me. There's nothing that confirms that, by the way. I do get where you're coming from, but whenever you want to like talk about planetary destruction, want to give a character this kind of level of power, let's say you're in Jujutsu Kaisen, right? And you say Sukuna is planetary. It doesn't make sense because the world itself doesn't present that kind of power level. We've never seen any character imply or any destruction implying that this is the level of the verse. So when you come out and say, yo, Sukuna is planetary, you sound stupid. Even if you have some evidence for it, you say, yo, the back cover of volume 7 says that he can shatter the world. It's flowery language. You're gonna understand the context of the verse in order to give a character that kind of power, right? The reason I'm saying this is because when you go to the medallions, medallions are aliens, right? Technologically advanced. They're supposed to have that kind of power, especially when you hear that one single medallion in base was able to destroy a whole, what do you call it? A fleet, a spatial fleet of the humans, right? Just one base medallion. And then you have space plate mode. The black hole, it's not going to be far-fetched to say that they can't actually create a mini black hole. But I do get it. The people that wouldn't take it, they want more proof. I do understand where they're coming from. However, as I said, the proof that I have is under that context, it's logical to think, okay, maybe that's actually a black hole because these guys are aliens, are supposed to be technologically advanced. And Uki did say, I don't want to hurt this celestial environment. And when you translate it, actually, it's the same translation as celestial body, which is a planet. But anyways, let me just go and bring this interesting thing in the One Punch Man. One Punch Man manga. I remember which chapter is it? Hopefully it's the same translation. Okay, that means there's special kind, control environment. Hold on. Yeah, so this is it, right? So this is where Amai Mask is talking about. Hold on, where's the browser? Just give me just 1 second, guys. All right, so this is where Amai Mask, as you can see in the screen. So Amai Mask here is informing Saitama of the history of the world, right? How humans are supposed to be they're like the species that actually adapt to situations, even though they're like they're fragile. They're able to adapt to the environment given at that time. And then he says something very. Hold on. He starts talking about how monsters came out of nowhere, and he literally calls them. I'll tell you. He literally calls them their natural enemies. Their natural enemy is the monsters, as you can see here. I don't know how to read this word. The proliferation of a natural enemy possessed of intelligence in a world, monsters. So I thought that's actually very interesting that he called them natural enemies. So like the natural enemy of the One Punch Man verses are actually the monsters, which is, obvious. But, the wording natural enemy, I went and like translated it from Japanese to English, and it actually is the same wording they use for verses. So imagine, there comes a time where this like merge happens again because of Blast butchering a portal or whatever, and then you have the verses word and the One Punch Man verse colliding. That would be insane, bro. Let me read the chat. The closest thing was the special grade character that made herself into a black hole and was only stopped by an anti-gravity ability. Exactly. Anti-gravity ability, and even when you grant her planetary destructive power, it's an outlier because in Jujutsu Kaisen, there's also a character that actually uses a kind of ability that gets her far higher than just this. Forgot her name. Yorozu, right? Yorozu literally uses an infinity an infinity circle, something like that. If you scale it properly, it's actually universal. However, Jujutsu Kaisen is not about, okay, if I'm planetary, you need to be planetary or above to actually defeat me, or like if my ability is planetary, you need to have that kind of ability to defeat me. No, Jujutsu Kaisen is about, techniques, hacks, how to overcome something that is stronger than you with something else that isn't necessarily that strong. For example, if Yuki uses a black hole, Sukuna can just counter it with a domain expansion, and she's done. Somewhere along these lines, right? So, yes, while there's a character that can use that, and it's an outlier, she needs to kill herself in order to do it, doesn't mean that every character that scales above her has that kind of ability. There's nothing that has that kind of attack potency or destructive capacity. There's nothing that proves that. But in Versus, as I said, it's plausible because these aliens are technologically advanced. The verse is actually that strong. We're seeing some crazy feats from the beginning of this series. You have Daikokuzan literally shaking the entire, I didn't say the entire planet, I'm not delusional to say that, but every single natural enemy at any point felt the ground shaking from Daikokuzan destroying the ship of the medallion. It went to a point that Yaotsu was able to feel it. It's kind of implying that like the entire world felt that, that earthquake, but I would hold on to that and say, okay, we need to have more. But as I said, the Versus verse has crazy showcasing, crazy like destructive or feats that makes it plausible to say, okay, this character might actually have summoned a black hole. It's not really that far-fetched. I can't remember if Versus was running at this time, but one might have had the series on his mind when writing this. It was running at this time for sure. However, this is being taken from the webcomics, and when this chapter happened in the webcomics, he had the same wording, natural enemy. And the webcomics, the chapter at that point in the webcomics, the Versus manga didn't exist. So yeah, it's like very interesting thing to think about. But anyways, I guess this is the time where I'm gonna be ending the stream. I'm gonna go back to complete or like continue working on my main video. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate every single one of you with the messages, with the suggestions, with the questions. Hopefully I can see you from time to time here. If tomorrow is the chapter or the day after, obviously I'm going to be streaming it, so stay tuned. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and please take good care of yourself. All right, peace.